So a month ago, I shared with you that I would separate all of my videos out into two different YouTube channels. And the one channel that you are on, that you have subscribed to, would be the Family Constellation channel. And the original channel that I have set up already since many years would be the Spiritual Awakening channel. And upon reflecting these last few weeks, I realized it's not going to work. I followed somebody else's idea who said create two different channels. So I did that, but in a way it didn't really work. I separated out my subscribership. You may have never seen my other channel and know I have all kinds of videos there that you may never have seen. So what I've decided, because for me, spiritual awakening and family constellation work are so integrated and they dovetail so beautifully with one another that I really can't separate them out into two different channels. What I will do though is I will on my original channel create two different playlists. So when I make a video that really has only the topic of spiritual awakening, I will then post the videos under that playlist. And whenever I make videos about healing, about deprogramming, about family constellation work, I will post them under that particular constellation work playlist. So that way I will at least attempt to separate out a little bit the videos I'm gonna make. And also I will have a general playlist where I will integrate both of these different topics in a video if that's how I feel I want to share information. Because you have to understand, eventually spiritual awakening is where you will most likely end up, because as you work on yourself, as you improve your personal self, as you let go of different programming and conditioning through the personal growth, family constellation work that you're engaging in, you will create more and more space within your makeup. And there will come a time when so much space is created where this interest into finding out, well, what is this space, is going to surface, which is of course what happened in my case. So for me, spiritual awakening wasn't something that I sought out. It was a natural progression of family constellation work, clearing so much of my inherited transgenerational trauma, programming, conditioning, that it generated all of this space that a movement was to find out, well, what is there? What else is there? I'm noticing this emptiness. I'm operating as a facilitator from this emptiness. I'm receiving all of this guidance as a facilitator to help people in these ways. And I know things that I couldn't know in any other way. It just comes from the knowing field as information that I then just pick up naturally. And I feel so alive and I feel so connected when I am in the family field as a facilitator. What is it? And can I actually live from this delightful connection with a greater wisdom in my daily life as well? So constellation work was really the basis that brought me to spiritual awakening. And then the spiritual enlightenment event that then is more or less the final collapsing of the personal self. And so anyway, my sense is the more you work on yourself, the more you work on improving your personal makeup and release more and more programming and conditioning, you will more and more pushed by life towards the awakening arena. And so my channel will cover both. And at whatever level you're interested in, you choose the videos that you want to watch. And like I'm saying, there will be a general playlist where I will most likely combine in the videos both spiritual awakening and self-improvement, constellation work type dynamics, and how they interplay and how they interact, and why one or the other isn't better, but they are working really together to help you in the end get to know who you truly are, your true spiritual, immortal essence. Yeah, that's really what the whole work is about, of getting to know who we are and releasing more and more of our inherited programming. So now this particular channel that you have signed up for, I'm asking you to please move yourself over and subscribe to the other channel. There may be videos you have never seen. It may be a new way to look at work that I have already posted there. And I will from now on post a lot of videos there because I have written all of the 6 books, 5 books, and 1 introduction. I spent a lot of time over the last few years for that. I've created a membership site. I learned website software. I learned software how to create digital books. So I've been extremely busy in the background making products and systems for you that you can easily access my work. And so now it's time to share all of what I have done and let you know. And I will post a lot of videos from now on, and also probably start a Substack channel. Now, I'm hoping that you will sign up on the other one. I post the screenshot here so you know what it's called. And this particular channel I will rename, and I will use it for videos sharing my life experience. I'm 63 years old. I have traveled extensively in my life. I grew up in a small village in Austria where life was still very much like in the Middle Ages. We only ate home-cooked food. Everything was grown organically. That wasn't such a thing as toxic or non-organic food. Everything was grown the old traditional way. I left home when I was 16. I ended up living in many different countries. I lived in Germany, I lived in Switzerland, I lived in France, I lived in Italy, I lived in Hawaii for many years where my son was born. I lived in different states in the US, and I lived in Guatemala, I lived in Mexico, I lived in Panama, in Costa Rica. I've lived for a short time in Hong Kong. I visited Singapore and Malaysia. So I know quite a bit about different countries and cultures and societies. And I want to share all of that information. I don't want it to just disappear when I leave. The younger generation have no idea what a true organic, holistic life is like that I grew up with. And so this particular channel will have information about all of those things that I think are interesting, that I think you might want to know. And for instance, did you know that in Guatemala, the women feed their newborn babies Coca-Cola? They think because Coca-Cola is coming from the West and probably whatever commercials they are seeing over there, they feed their babies Coca-Cola because they think it's better than their own natural mother's milk. Because it's coming from the West, it must be better. Yeah. So it's crazy the things that are happening around the world, and a lot we are not aware of. A lot of the material doesn't ever reach the mainstream media. And so I will share what I personally learned, what I personally experienced. I have an arsenal of very old books. And for instance, in the mid-1800s, there was this huge movement of natural living. And it was already known back then that a low-carb diet would reduce weight. So people who were overweight, which weren't many people back then, but those who were overweight already knew if they ate a low-carb diet or even a more restrictive carnivore diet, they lost weight very rapidly and became very healthy. So now in 2025, we are hailing this carnivore diet as something so wonderful and new, and a low-carb diet. And yet that information was already known over 100 years ago. So it's almost, we've regressed in what information was available back then. Instead of using that information as stepping stones, we've regressed and gone backwards and have created this incredibly toxic world, unhealthy world. People are more unhealthy than ever. People are dependent on drugs more than ever. And it's like, what is going on? This is so strange. We should be elevating ourselves into these enormously vibrant, healthy, ecstatic human beings linked to our higher wisdom, our divine nature, and creating these wonderful lives. And in a way, people are stressed out, people are depressed, people are unhealthy, they are overwhelmed in so many ways, and something has gone wrong. And I have some ideas about that because I've studied so much, I've traveled so much, I have talked to so many people from so many different cultures, I've learned so much from my research. And so this is what the channel is going to be about. I hope you stay. I hope the material that I'll share will be interesting to you. And I thank you for subscribing and for being part of this mini channel here. And I hope you will forgive me that I am going back on my word of making this channel a soul constellation work channel. It's not going to work, and I'm sure you will appreciate having access to all the other videos that are located over there on my main channel. So thank you very much. And one other thing I would like to put out to you, in case you find the material on either this channel, but more so on my main channel, the Constellation and Spiritual Awakening channel, if you find it helpful, would you share it with your friends and family and members of your social group on your social media? I don't have a social media presence anywhere. I've not really ever gotten engaged in it. I found it not very helpful to me. I didn't understand the whole concept. So if you're in any ways inclined to assist, if you find a video that you think is interesting to share, if you find information that I post that you think is worthy of putting forward to your community, I would appreciate if you do that. It would help me get my work out more into the community, and I would really appreciate that. So thank you again, and also thank you for listening.